Welcome in another Friday Safety Focus of the week. It is November 18th. Our code of conduct is to strive to maintain a positive and professional image of ECI to our employees, our clients, vendors, subcontractors, and the public. Any words of wisdom on this, Mr. Dow?
I don't know. That one's self-explanatory. Have a positive attitude. It's all about our attitude, how we get things done in a professional way.
Yeah, let's solve problems. Another 7 days without a recordable, 152 days without a recordable. Good job. Do want to highlight, we have seen an uptick in job trailer and tool trailer damage. A lot of it is parking related, tight quarters, and backing. So let's really focus in on those, really identify those tight situations, and also try to put in some tolerance. So if something does happen, or you don't have a spotter, or the ground is slippery, you don't slide into stuff. Those are some of the things that we're seeing as changing conditions are out there now, especially with moving in the morning. With it being dark in the morning, we're seeing a lot of these incidents first thing in the morning. It's dark out. So let's just try to put an emphasis and try to sight lighting if we can a little bit in the morning, but also just try to kind of plan out for a little bit of a safety factor. If something does get missed, we don't do excessive damage to our trailers or to our pickup trucks. So that's kind of the incidents that we're seeing to date over the last couple of weeks. With that said, we got Amy joining us with PT 360. So the floor is yours, Amy. Thanks for joining us this morning. We're excited to learn about concussions this morning.
Good morning. Let's see. Entire screen. Let me just share this. All right. So, hide this guy. All right, we're going to talk about concussions this morning. This is something that's near and dear to my heart. I've been treating it for a long time. It is always changing. It's one of those crazy fields where the more we know, the less we know. And realize this is actually important for you all as well with what you do. So the goals today are to really understand what a concussion is, recognize the signs and symptoms of a concussion, understand what you have to do if you have a concussion, and understand what the available treatment is for you. Because I think that's one of the most understood components is you don't just have to wait and sit until the concussion is over. There are available treatments for you. And the important thing is, when do you need to start accessing those available treatments? So first big question, what's a concussion? We've all had our bell rung, our head dinged, seen stars. Those are all a concussion. Concussion's a clinical diagnosis only, and this is really important. We don't have any imaging, any blood work, any saliva samples that we could take right now to say you've had a concussion. This is something where you come in, you explain the situation as to what happened and what you're feeling, and we make that clinical diagnosis. This is after both hitting your head and having that whiplash injury. And there's also a lot of working definitions of a concussion. We have sport-specific ones, which are more of what I work off of. I think they have really good definitions there, as well as non-sport related concussions put out by traumatic brain injury groups, CDC, World Health Organization. So for the purposes of today, I'll use the CDC concussion definition. I think it's really simple. It's really user-friendly. So it's a type of traumatic brain injury. And yes, concussion is a traumatic brain injury. It falls on that spectrum. It could be from a bump, a blow, a jolt, hitting your head, hitting your body that causes your head to have this back and forth or rotational motion. And what happens in your brain is your brain goes back and forth in your head or rotates in your head, and it can cause some chemical changes and potentially some damage to brain cells. On that second part, important thing to know, it is most often not related to structural changes. So while there can be some damage to brain cells, we're not sure that's always happening, or maybe that's happening in more severe injuries that are further down the traumatic brain injury line, but it's most likely a functional change in the brain. And this is something really important to know. So if you go into the ER after you've had a head injury and they do an X-ray, they do a CT scan, or an MRI, they're not looking for a concussion. They're looking for bigger problems. They're looking for a skull fracture. They're looking for a brain bleed. They're looking for some other major anatomical issue in your head. And they're not actually looking for a concussion. So they're trying to rule out these major issues that would put you in the hospital for longer versus a concussion. And what it is a short-lived impairment of neurological function. So we have a change, kind of a transient change in how our brain is functioning. And that change usually goes back to the way you were functioning beforehand. I think this image is a really good image to explain the difference between structural and functional. So structure, we think of, what our brain looks like, those two little halves of white matter in the brain, and that sits inside of our skull, and that's the structure. This is the function of the brain. So what you're seeing in this picture here is all the connections, all of the chemical signals, all of the blood flow in the brain, and how it flows to different areas. And I think this is a really cool image because this is what is affected. This functional component of how energy and how information flows in your brain is affected, not the actual tissue. So what does a concussion look like? I think it's really important to separate these into what it looks like and what it feels like, because it's really going to be important for somebody around this person who might sustain a concussion to see what that person is acting like, because the person might not always recognize that has sustained the concussion. So if there's somebody around, these are the things that you're looking for. If any of you watch football and saw the major injury to the Dolphins player Tua, he showed signs of concussion. They were not recognized, but he showed them. Those are signs that's a concussion. Whatever that person is saying, they're showing signs of a concussion. So they can't recall events prior to after the hit or fall or head injury. They appear dazed or stunned. So they kind of have that like looking up around like they're seeing stars. They forget an instruction. They get confused about what they're supposed to be doing. They're confused if this is specific to gameplay, but a game, but for work-related issues, they don't know where they are, what they're doing. Was I supposed to be fixing that truck, or am I supposed to be in this piece of equipment? They don't know that. They might be confused about the date, the time of day, where they are. They might move clumsily, so they're stumbling. If you ask them a question, they're really slow to answer. And again, this might be knowing the person too. Somebody who's usually right on top of things, they're all of a sudden really struggling to get the words out. A big one, loses consciousness, even if it's for a brief second or two. That's really important. And if they have mood, personality changes. And another big one not listed here is holding your head. If someone gets up and they hold their head with any of these other issues, those are signs that somebody has sustained a head injury. So the next part is, what does it feel like? So this is what the person might be telling you if they have a concussion, that they have a headache or pressure on their head. They feel nauseous. They might throw up. They might feel like they're dizzy, or they have double vision. Things are blurry. If you're out with heavy machinery, the noise might be bothering them, or the sun or the reflection off the snow might be bothering them. They're feeling sluggish, hazy, foggy. Foggy is one of those big key words. We've heard a lot with COVID, but that foggy feeling, confusion, concentration, or memory problems. And they just don't feel right. That's a big thing. I just don't feel like myself. I feel like I'm slow. I can't process things normally. So this is what somebody's saying, and this is what it looks like. And these are some big red flags. When you see these things, you need to go to the ER or call 911 pretty quickly. This isn't something you wait on. So if one pupil is larger than the other right away, that's a red flag. That drowsiness, inability to wake up, or loss of consciousness, a headache that gets worse does not go away. This is like that 9 out of 10 headache that, it hurts to open your eyes. There's nothing that's helping, and continues to get worse. That's a red flag. Any slurred speech, weakness, numbness, decreased coordination, again, significant things, not just, stumbling a little bit, but the arm's not working. Those are all signs that maybe there's a stroke. Repeated vomiting, nausea, convulsions, seizures, any of those things, call 911, go to the ER. Significantly unusual behavior, very confused, very restless, or very agitated. Again, those are signs, maybe go to the ER. And then the loss of consciousness, even though it might be brief, that person should get checked out. Another really important component of this is people might not feel symptoms immediately after hitting their head or having a whiplash type injury. It might be a couple of hours later, a couple of days later, or weeks later. So, you know, say you were driving a company truck, you got into a fender bender because there was ice out, you feel fine. The ambulance comes, you're like, nope, I don't need to go to the ER. But all of a sudden the next day you wake up and, you know, you can't open your eyes because it's just the light of the sun and the window is bothersome. You know, you're stumbling out of bed. That happens quite often. And what we sometimes find is when we see it days or weeks later is that if somebody has taken some days off after their concussion, and they start getting back to normal activity, higher level brain function, that's when we see some of these symptoms starting to kick in. So if somebody had a, you know, head injury on Monday and on a Friday, you know, they had a couple long days at work and all of a sudden symptoms hit, that's related to the concussion. And we want to pay attention to it. So other major signs and symptoms, there are a lot, and a lot of these overlap with other things. A lot of these overlap with COVID, a lot of these overlap with the flu, a lot of these overlap with other injuries that we might have, neck pain, head pain. So it's really important that we recognize that these symptoms are there and then send that person to the right provider to help figure out if this is a concussion or if this is something else. And you generally have different categories that we look at, but there's physical, thinking, sleep, and emotional categories. And any people can feel any or all of these. If you come into my clinic, I have a 22 symptom checklist, and you fill out if you have any of these 22 symptoms that are pretty common with concussion. So there are a lot of them. So next big question, what do you do if you hit your head and you don't have any of those red flags? We want to take up to 48 hours of quiet time. So this is resting in a dark or quiet room with minimal stimulation. The old guidance was stay in a dark room or quiet room until symptoms go away. And a lot of doctors don't have the most up-to-date information because it's changing so rapidly. So forgive the doctors if they don't quite have everything up to date right now, but it's moving so rapidly that information is hard to disseminate. But staying in a dark room for more than 48 hours is actually detrimental. It's not going to help you. It might actually hurt you a little bit. So up to 2 days of quiet room time, but then after that, you want to start moving and getting going again. And for some people, it might be just a day that they need. Some people, they might need that full 2 days. And then as we start getting going again, progressively, this is a key word, progressively increase what you're doing. Don't jump right into a 12-hour day of work and, you know, outside with cold weather and lots of noise and lots of bright lights. That will most likely set you off. Go back to doing daily activities at first. Might be a couple hours, might be a day that you're doing this. Working around the house, and getting back into some light work and then heavy work. And again, everybody's very different. Some people might need a day only. Some people might need a couple of weeks. The important thing is that we allow people to modify what they're doing at home and at work, if there is possibility for that, to allow them to slowly get better rather than this all or nothing approach. Another great thing to do is perform light aerobic activities, such as walking or biking. Because this is a functional issue, it has to do with how your nervous system functions. Aerobic activity really helps to modulate nervous system function. So not going out for like a really hard run, but a light walk, paying attention to your symptoms. So say on a 0 to 10 scale, 0, you're back to what you were before the concussion. 10 is you're in a dark room and can't function. Say you start out the day at a 2, you're feeling pretty good, but you might have a little headache, a little dizziness. You start going for a walk or start working on your computer or start going out and doing a little bit of work and your symptoms get to a 4, that's what we call the 2-point rule. Don't let your symptoms go more than 2 points away from your baseline. So that applies to this light aerobic activity as well as any other work. And that helps to modulate it so the symptoms don't get so out of control that you're stuck in bed for another day, that you can use some skills and tools to help reduce those symptoms and go back to what you were doing. That brings us to the next point, is some of those techniques to help lower symptoms. One is eye blocking. It is exactly what it sounds. You shut your eyes, block your eyes. That takes out all sensory stimulation to your brain. not all, most, and can help kind of reduce symptoms if you feel overwhelmed. Deep breathing also helps to modulate your nervous system. And that's another thing you can do in the moment if symptoms start to elevate. And then pay attention to those symptoms. Don't just ignore them. This isn't an ankle sprain or a back injury or a shoulder injury where you could just brush off and keep pushing through. I think that's one of the hardest things for people to understand is that you have to back off when you're feeling symptoms worsen. You can't plow through and lean in. Pay attention, back off, use some techniques to help manage symptoms, slowly increase what you're doing. So if you do all that, most concussions go away within 2 to 4 weeks, depending on what literature you're looking at and what age group you're looking at. If symptoms persist more than a few days, I like people to contact their healthcare provider. I think getting in early, starting the process early can be really helpful rather than waiting a few weeks. And they could help guide you as to, what steps you may or may not need to take. They could help with work or home related accommodations as well. If symptoms are more than 4 weeks, and I'll put that as 2 to 4 weeks, you might need additional care. And the reason I say 2 to 4 weeks is because most of us are booking up about 2 to 4 weeks out in healthcare right now at minimum. So, at 2 weeks, talking to your healthcare provider and saying, hey, I'm still having symptoms, and starting to get in the process of seeing other providers and getting in, because it might take a couple weeks to get in. So this care might include seeing somebody like myself or an occupational therapist, chiropractor, neurooptometry, which is a special type of eye doctor who doesn't just work on the eyeballs, they work on the connection from the eyeballs to the brain, social support, as well as neurology. So these are just a few of the people that in our group of care that can help with concussion symptoms. If symptoms last more than 4 weeks, that's persistent post-concussion symptoms, and you'll most definitely need to get into one or all of these providers to help with symptom management. And because symptoms are functional, even if they are bad, we have tools to help with that. Here's a website, cdc.gov, heads up. They have some fabulous information on concussion, what to do with concussion. A lot of it is sport related, but it does, I think, pertain to all of us, and all that information can be really helpful. And that's all I've got for today.
Thanks, Amy. It almost sounds like this is kind of a quiet, less expressive injury. Normally when you get hurt, you like scream and curse and carry on for a while about, oh, that was stupid and all that. It almost seems like this is a more subdued injury where you just kind of acquiesce and become very passive.
That is a great description of it, Ken. I think you're spot on with that. And that's very true. Yep.
Interesting. Okay, I hadn't thought of it that way. All right, thanks. Have a good holiday and Thanksgiving weekend, and enjoy the family and everybody, and hopefully good weather and all that, and stay safe.
Thank you. You all too. Have a good one.
All right, take care. Okay, I'll take over here. Oops. I always get this messed up. I got so many choices here. Screen, window. Oh, there we go. Okay, can you see my screen?
We got it.
Okay. So that was a great presentation on concussions by Amy. So announcements, yes, Thanksgiving is here. Happy Thanksgiving. Next week, wow. I don't know what our count is on the number of days for the year, but we're winding down here, it seems, quickly. So all time records need to be submitted by this Friday, that's today, at the end of the business day to allow for accounting to process payroll for the upcoming short week. Anyone working over the weekend should submit the times by first thing 6 a.m. on Monday morning. And ECI, of course, will be closed on Thursday and Friday. And then just continuing announcement here, this is like the last week that we should be enrolling in our benefit programs open enrollment week, meaning that anybody can jump in at this time that hasn't previously been enrolled. We have several different types, and primarily here the health insurance and dental insurance, and there's a link in the middle here in blue to the overview. But we have other types of insurances that the employee can decide to accept or not. It's available for a fee. We have the voluntary term life, accident, and critical illness. So also check out your beneficiary forms this time of year. And the type of insurance, additional insurance that we're just highlighting this week is the term life and accidental death and dismemberment insurance. So this is a special insurance that you can buy beyond everything that you already have. And if you want to make sure your family's taken care of in your accident, if you're disabled or anything, this is the right program to have. And check with Melanie Bennett at the front office if you have questions. And we have a new employee this week. We have Scott Lavacher. Welcome, Scott. Looks like maybe he's on a bridge crew there. Looks like one of the bridge beams behind him there. And this week Tom Lawyer and I attended the Northeast chapter of the North American Society of Trenchless Technology. And we attended, presented, exhibited, and sponsored at this chapter event held in Portland, Maine. And we did a lot of networking with other contractors, pipe suppliers, equipment vendors, engineers, owners, and even the UMass Lowell student chapter. They're one of the only colleges in the area that has a student chapter, and they participate every year. So there's Tom after his presentation with Brian Dorwart from Brierley Associates. We work with Brian quite a bit. And there's myself, and I'm giving a presentation on HDD method to install thread bar tie rods using excavator drill attachments. And there's the UMass Lowell group of young people who are very excited about ECI, and I think that Tom was giving away a raffling out some sweatshirts, so they're pretty excited and looking to maybe be someday a future ECI employee. So I just have a link here on the primary care wellness plan, and then for the project of the week, just highlighting the paving season. Since Thanksgiving week is the end of the paving season this year, the plants should be closed. There's always maybe a little bit of paving going on after, but not very much. Of course, it gets cold, the ground gets frozen, and it's not the best paving conditions. No. And congratulations too to all our paving, grading, and milling crews. It was an outstanding year. A lot of work got done.
It was busy.
A little bit of grading.
We're all over the place. Yep.
Yeah.
Here,
Hey,
Jim, I think that might be private road down at Sunset Cliff, maybe Burlington.
Okay.
The one by the solar farm that was installed there a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah, early season grading.
I'm not 100% sure.
Yep.
We grade that.
Sunset Cliff.
That
Sunset Cliff. Yep.
Sunset. Here's prepping some driveway. Then think it Wake Robin, Daryl. Maybe, or we could.
All them condo places all look the same.
They do.
Yeah, they do.
We did many condos. That's one of our niches.
For sure.
I was making a list of some condos. We're all over the place, but Wake Robin was a big one. We did a bunch of driveways and some roadways.
Oh, that's Apple Tree.
Apple Tree condos. Yep, down in Burlington, where Stu used to live. Yep, one of those clusters. Yep. You can keep. I figured this one out, Daryl. I think the railroad crossing Ron Wallen down in Montpelier off Route 2, the realignment, maybe.
That's right. Yeah, I took the photo. I was there.
Took me a minute. I don't.
There's that little radio station where the golf course is on the other side, across from the Agway. Yep.
Yep. That realignment.
Yep.
Winooski.
Yeah, that's the interstate.
Night work. Yep. On the interstate over the little street in Winooski. Yeah, to try and smooth up the joints.
Yep.
Kind of a big Band-Aid.
I haven't noticed lately driving over them, so they must be fine.
That's right.
Or
Exactly.
better anyway.
And that's the first, starting to get ready to peel them off.
Hey,
Cold
that was
plating,
when
yeah.
that was when night work might even mean you're still working in the daylight.
That's right. Yeah, that was probably early June, maybe something.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Buddy out there.
I think that's Walcott, right?
I think so, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Milling, that Route 15 and Wolcott. The first half must be.
Yep.
Yep.
Early
Up and
season.
down.
Yep.
Correct. We did lots of those IDIQ bridges.
Yeah, we did.
This must be Sharon, right? Milling approach.
Gotta be the White River, it says in the sign.
Exactly. Right. The big ones. This is over behind the airport maintenance building. Basically, we were peeling that back apron area down to gravel. On the right is where a fuel pad, new fuel pad over their tanks.
Yep. It's a pretty impressive piece of equipment.
That thing is, yes, it is. Yep. It can make some short work of removing material. Daryl had to get me this down in, this is Barry at IDIQ bridge, must be paving the first half.
Yep, that makes sense.
That was back, I think, earlier on in the season. Yeah. Like Boger,
Mike,
Jacob.
who knows where that is, but
no idea.
Could be anywhere.
Another
Although
day.
the steam would indicate that it's late season.
Correct.
Still leaves on the trees mostly.
That's sweatshirt.
Yeah, sweatshirt. Doggy daycare, it says in the background.
Base paving, Industrial Ave.
Yep.
Fun, laying lots of mix.
Yeah, lots of it. Laid it down fast.
But you get it graded right there.
Yeah, the grading was
There's more to do.
The hardest part probably there.
This must be way back, or it's the second time, King Street, or Maple Street, probably.
Yep.
Railroad crossings down at Perkins Pier area.
Yep.
It's cold. I don't know. Well,
yep.
Spector's got a jacket.
Could have been one photo left over from last year, but it might have been spring.
No, it was topless, I think. Yep.
Okay.
So perpendicular. Yep. Those three.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. Riding perpendicular. That's why we had to load it with a skid steer.
Skid steer. Yeah. Correct.
Yep.
Lots of railroad crossings.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
I think that's probably Industrial Ave, Mikey, Austin.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Hitting it. In front of Doggy Daycare's area.
Another shot. This is back end of the paver here. Looks like a bridge because I see some railing over there.
Oh yeah, sure. Another half of a bridge. We did lots of bridges.
Yep.
Or even lots of contractors.
Yeah.
Between CCS, Pole River.
Right. Yep.
Did a bunch over on 91. We have more to do next season for them.
There's Daryl trying to tell him to pick up the pace. You might actually be looking at wires, but I think we're offset from the wires there. There's probably some coming up.
Probably. And
Pioneer Street.
Pioneer, correct. Yep. It looks like probably a base lift.
Yep.
On the first. That one came out well.
Yep.
Everybody's
sidewalk there and crossing.
That's right. That was a very compressive, big team effort down there. There was a lot going on.
There was, yeah.
I didn't have much to do, but I saw lots of pictures and lots of coordination and good team
Different
effort.
crews all at once, yeah.
That's right.
So here's some completed work now.
Yes, bike path, pedestrian path.
Yeah.
Danny Allen, Route 15.
Yep.
Yep, so that was earlier on in the season, all line striped, looking good.
Right, this was that weird little jog after.
That's right, yeah.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, Danny Allen. This is Stonehenge condos. I know this one for sure. Yeah, we did actually 2 clusters down there. Yep. Another condo.
Yeah, it looks
complex.
good and shiny there.
I
and
wish I
water's
had the
draining
before, because
nicely.
that one was a piece of junk.
Was it? Yeah,
That's
they must be happy
100%.
then.
Walkways, yeah, roadway. Good work for us. And then we actually got an extra piece of bike path down there right after we did a little storm cleaning out the outlet and did some bike path work for City South Burlington as well.
Okay, yeah.
Right around the corner, literally.
Their bike path is starting to need work.
Yeah, there's a few places. Yep.
Yep. Nice parking lot, all
Yeah,
lines
this is
striped.
Ken, the Lund Home Center, which used to be Pizzagalley's main office building, which used to house Pinkham Engineering
Oh,
back in the day.
Yeah.
Yep, that was in much need with WCAX in the background.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
their towers and their office building came
Yep.
out nice. One of our last
Yep.
parking lots for Redstone. So hopefully
Right.
get in a
Yep.
little bit with Redstone. They've got
Yeah,
lots
that'd
of
be great.
properties.
Mm-hmm. Here's Pioneer Street again, completed. No line striping yet, but it's
No, not
freshly
yet.
paved.
Yeah, looking good.
Yep. And that's what I
Nice.
get for the,
Oh,
what was
this is a
here's
good one.
MMU track. Remember that?
yep. Oh, that might even be Mike on the roller and Mr.
Yeah, it's Mike
Master.
on a roller.
Yeah. And Mark.
Matt
Mark,
Cocker
rest in
driving the
peace.
paver.
Mac. Yeah. Very cool.
Very cool.
Classic old picture.
That is nice. Yeah.
Not that old, but it's classic.
Well,
I
right.
like the flag in the background too.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if I
That's
took
cool.
that or
Must be
not,
the
but
first
it
lift,
was a
yeah.
good photo.
Cool. Nice.
All right. Well,
Thanks,
good.
guys. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very. Yep. Thank you. And everyone have a good holiday and Thanksgiving week and everything, and relax and stay safe out there. And good luck deer hunting for the deer hunters. Matt, I'll turn it back to you.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you,
you
Ken.
tuned into in a group setting, please just send me a message. I got a couple already, but I'd like to really try to catch.
Perfect. Thanks. Have a good day.